Okay, the exact short version to detail the mechanics of the murder itself, not the extenuating circumstances. What you're seeing is a Florida ranch-style home from above, and it's got a kitchen, an exit door in the kitchen, dining room and a wall, 2 bedrooms, with a hallway accessing from the middle, entry, garage. Most important part. 5 days before the murder, Ron Sanders gave us a Pepsi machine and insisted that it be set out of the shade just inside that sliding glass door on the pad on the outside of the house. That's a view of what it looked like from above. If you were looking at it by the bird now, that thing was set about 22 inches away from the glass. There's a curtain across that sliding glass door. There's a television next to it. How do I remember that there's a television next to it? Because here's a picture of that sliding glass door frame. There's the corner. And as you notice, right next to Zachariah, you see the corner of our television. So that's that corner of that hallway right here. What did happen? Ron Sanders and Big Al. Big Al holding a 9mm Beretta, black. Big Al was roughly 200 pounds. Stood off to the right, had a chipped tooth, green skin. Drove a black Monte Carlo, parked it behind a fence right up the street. The second car, Blazer, was parked the opposite direction where the school bus couldn't get around him at 7:22 that morning. Taking this firearm from his collection that was stored in his house, he had a massive collection of military firearms that were registered as a collector. The only firearm that was gone was this one. That's the Thompson submachine gun that took a canister to shoot. The murder itself was committed by two individuals who came to the outside of the door, just like this. The murderers came across the yard when the sun came up. Rusty had pulled the shades on the inside. Rusty was walking this direction toward the kitchen. His son Jocko, 11 years old, was sitting at this table eating Cheerios. Garth Allen McRae was sleeping in my bed. At roughly 8:30, at this direction, he opened fire into the room with the machine gun. And I have that. How do I set that? Yeah. This one. Hang on just a sec. Okay, sorry. You see the course, the chicken foot there, just inside that sliding glass door. These are ballistics angles that I pulled strings on myself at that house after the police had gone and left. The first firing position was inside the door. Thompson started on the left-hand side. He hit rounds that went into the garage, into the car, into a dresser, into the wall, into the floor, all passing through Rusty Day. The second shot by the Beretta was taken inside that room, roughly halfway into the room, in a semi-kneeling position, and he shot Russell Edward Davidson Jr. in the cheek, severing his first finger on his right hand as he was on his back on the floor trying to crawl to his dad. He had been hit once on the table, crawled across the floor. Murderers came inside. One of the two killers came down the hall and went in and just hosed Garth McRae down right there. The firing position was just inside the door. Some of the rounds even hit the pad on the outside, passing through the corner of the wall and into the trees. He sprayed from the left to the right again. It must have been the direction that the gun kicked. And this secondary firing position is interesting. As I saw the crime scene photos, Rusty was laying face down. I mean, he didn't even know what hit him. He's this one. He's laying face down with his arms to the side, flat, but Jocko had hit the floor over in this direction. He was probably right there. And then he was crawling, and then it shows, the pattern on the floor shows that he had been taken by the leg, pulled sideways and pulled over and actually placed on his father's shoulder. His eyes were both open. They were bright blue. He had blonde hair. He was 11 years old. He was my godson. Garth Allen McRae bless his heart, was kneeling on my briefcase. He felt the need to pull it out from under the bed, and I think he was on his hands and knees begging, offering the 12 grand in that briefcase in exchange for his life. He was instead shot nearly in half. His head was nearly shot in half. There's a lot of other interesting things that happened about the murder, but I'm the only individual that went to the house, pulled up the carpet, and tracked 2 rounds that went into the baseboard that show that there was a Beretta used, and that was the coup de grace shot that hit Jocko in the face. One passed through the same hole twice. I pulled a round out of a dresser, had that in my pocket. That's a 45 submachine gun, and those were parabellum rounds, military rounds. The other were regular Beretta rounds. My godson, my closest friend, and my road manager, and my other guitar player. 6 weeks later, Ron Sanders was being investigated. The police pulled up in his yard. Ron saw someone cross his window, squeezed off a round. He thought he was being raided. The round went through a police officer's neck. They swamped the house. They stormed the house with SWAT. Ron Sanders put the gun in his mouth, and right before he shot himself, he told his wife that they're here to kill me for killing Rusty and Jocko. Ron Sanders was pronounced dead there. Seminole County and Orange County investigated that one. I got the call within 15 minutes. They wanted to know where the money was in the house. Secondarily, Big Al was shot in Miami 5 days later. On his deathbed, he said, "I killed Rusty and Jocko with my 9mm, to the investigating officer, who said no, he was killed with a 45. That sparked my interest, and I offered to pull the rug up, and I did, and I found the 9mm rounds. Ron's dead. Al's dead. But one of the 2 managers, interestingly enough, has property leading right up to where Rusty's house was. Interesting. Any questions? This is what he was wearing when he was killed. He wasn't wearing that hat. And that's the cocksucker that killed him. Ron Sanders. This was taken 24 hours before he was killed, in the living room. When I got there, they were still up from the night before. There are no disputes in any of the facts I've told you. These are real facts. And there's a hell of a lot more. But the poser in Orlando won't solve the case. Her hair might get messed up. Jennifer Spears. Have a nice day.